It's a cruel twist of biology. The humans who most need sleep are often the ones least likely to get it. Children and teenagers are in the midst of rapid physical, emotional, and cognitive development, precisely the kind of high-intensity biological work that demands generous, high-quality sleep. And yet, if you peek into the average teen's life, what you'll find is the opposite. Chaotic schedules, glowing screens, late-night group chats, early school bells, and enough caffeine-laced drinks to keep a rhinoceros awake. It's no surprise that sleep deprivation is now a public health issue among youth. But what's shocking is how profoundly it affects everything, from grades and growth to mood, immune function, and long-term risk of mental illness. Let's start with the basics. Sleep is not a passive state for growing bodies, it's an active construction site. During sleep, particularly deep non-REM sleep, the body releases growth hormone, supports tissue repair, and strengthens the immune system. In REM sleep, the brain sorts, stores, and consolidates memories, strengthens emotional resilience, and even rewires itself to learn new skills. Kids aged 6 to 13 generally need 9 to 11 hours per night. Teens need about 8 to 10. And no, they're not being lazy. This isn't a preference, it's a physiological demand built into the adolescent body clock. Here's where things go sideways. Adolescence also triggers a natural shift in circadian rhythm, pushing sleep onset later by about 2 hours. A 14-year-old may genuinely not feel sleepy until 11 p.m. or midnight. But schools in many countries still expect them to be mentally sharp at 7:30 a.m., if not earlier. The math simply doesn't work. Add to this homework, part-time jobs, social pressures, and an endless stream of TikTok-fueled dopamine loops, and what you get is an entire generation operating on chronic sleep debt. If adults behaved like this, they'd be clinically useless by lunchtime. Teens are somehow expected to thrive. The consequences are not minor. Sleep-deprived youth show measurable declines in academic performance, especially in areas requiring attention, problem-solving, and memory. Emotional regulation suffers, too. Moody outbursts, irritability, and even symptoms of depression and anxiety become more common. Behavioral issues like impulsivity, risk-taking, and poor judgment all increase, largely because the prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making center, depends heavily on rest to function properly. Cut sleep, and you essentially short-circuit the internal brakes that help young people make smart choices. It's like handing a teenager the keys to a sports car and then disabling the steering. And it gets worse. There's growing evidence linking inadequate sleep in youth with long-term health issues. Poor sleep disrupts metabolism, increasing the risk for obesity and insulin resistance. It weakens immunity, making kids more prone to frequent illness. It's even been implicated in early cardiovascular changes. Meanwhile, mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, and ADHD are strongly correlated with poor sleep and sometimes driven by it. In other words, when a child doesn't sleep well, they don't just wake up cranky. They wake up at a biological disadvantage that builds over time. Screens are a big part of the problem, and not just because they delay bedtime. Blue light emitted from phones, tablets, and laptops suppresses melatonin production, tricking the brain into thinking it's still daytime. Social media also activates the reward circuitry in the brain, making it harder to disengage. And let's not forget the constant pinging of group messages, even at 2 a.m., which hijack sleep with a subtle suggestion that missing a meme is worse than missing REM. In screen-heavy households, studies show shorter sleep duration, poor sleep quality, and higher rates of insomnia in kids and teens. It's not just distraction, it's digital sabotage of a critical biological function. Parents, of course, are not always in control of the chaos. Many juggle work, long commutes, or multiple jobs. Enforcing screen limits in a world built around technology is like telling kids not to breathe near air. And some school systems are still resistant to adjusting start times, even though the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that middle and high schools start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. Spoiler, most still do. So, what's the solution? It starts with acknowledging that sleep for kids and teens is non-negotiable. It's not extra credit, it's oxygen. Parents and schools alike need to shift how they think about sleep, moving away from the get more if you can model to a protect it at all costs mindset. That might mean turning off Wi-Fi at a certain hour, instituting screen-free bedrooms, adjusting evening schedules, or advocating for later school start times. Even 30 to 60 more minutes of sleep per night can yield measurable improvements in attention, emotional stability, and health. Kids don't stay up late because they're rebellious. Teens don't sleep in on weekends because they're lazy. These are natural, biologically driven behaviors made worse by an environment that fights them at every turn. Until we stop treating youth sleep like an optional wellness trend and start recognizing it as a developmental requirement, we'll keep raising a generation of exhausted kids trying to do their best with half-charged brains. And unlike missed homework, sleep isn't something you can make up on the weekend. Chronic deprivation has no grace period. If kids are going to grow, learn, and stay sane in a world spinning faster every year, they'll need what every brain deserves: more darkness, more downtime, and far fewer notifications at midnight.